The story opens in the sleek high-tech headquarters of Vortex Dynamics, a billion-dollar company on the brink of a major innovation, or total failure. At the center of the chaos is CEO Richard Klein, a driven, sharp-tongued executive known for both his brilliance and his ego. Vortex Dynamics has poured years of research and millions of dollars into creating a revolutionary engine, a self-regulating, ultra-efficient power unit meant to change the future of transportation. But the engine isn't working. It runs for seconds before stalling, overheating, or shutting down entirely. Klein is furious. The top engineers from MIT, Stanford, and beyond have tried and failed. He paces the glass-paneled conference room overlooking the massive research lab where the engine, surrounded by tools and failed components, sits like a defeated giant. His voice echoes through the space as he berates his lead engineers. "You told me this was ready for launch. Now it's a glorified paperweight. The pressure is immense. Investors are breathing down his neck, the board is losing patience, and a public demo is scheduled for next week. Canceling it would tank the company's stock price." Klein, despite his anger, is desperate for a miracle. Meanwhile, down in the lab, technicians are quietly packing up. There's a defeated energy in the air. No one wants to say it out loud, but it's clear. The engine might be beyond repair. Just outside the lab's main entrance, a woman named Maya Bennett is cleaning the hallway floor. She's wearing a simple janitor uniform, earbuds in, pushing a mop back and forth. She's been with the company for 6 months. Most people barely notice her. To them, she's just part of the background, polite, quiet, and unremarkable. But today, she pauses. The door to the lab is slightly open and she hears snippets of the CEO's tirade and the engineers' frustrated responses. Her curiosity is piqued. She pulls out one earbud and listens closer. A moment later, she steps inside. She walks slowly around the engine. It's massive, complex, full of wires and modules that would intimidate anyone who didn't know their way around machinery. She doesn't say much, just studies it carefully and then almost absent-mindedly mutters, "Looks like your regulator loop is overcompensating for thermal drift." The room falls silent. Everyone turns toward her. One engineer lets out a short, confused laugh. Another scoffs. "And you would know that? How?" Maya shrugs. "Just something I've seen before." The CEO, hearing the remark from across the lab, marches over. He eyes Maya with skepticism and disbelief. "You think you can fix what my entire engineering team couldn't?" He sneers. She looks up at him calmly. "I could try." There's a tense beat. Klein is insulted. He doesn't believe her for a second, but his pride pushes him to make an example out of her. With a smirk and a tone dripping with sarcasm, he says, "Fine. Be my guest. Let's see the janitor do what the experts couldn't." The dare has been made. Maya quietly nods, takes off her gloves, and steps toward the engine. The impossible challenge begins. The lab is still reeling from the CEO's sarcastic challenge. The staff members are exchanging confused and amused glances, and a few even pull out their phones ready to capture what they expect to be a moment of embarrassment for Maya, the janitor who just dared to speak like an expert. Maya Bennett steps forward slowly, her face calm and unreadable. She doesn't seem intimidated by the stares or the hostile silence hanging in the air. Her movements are steady and precise as she places her cleaning tools against the wall and ties her hair. There's a quiet confidence about her. Not arrogance, but a kind of practiced focus. Some of the engineers smirk. One leans over and whispers to a colleague, "This should be good." Another chuckles and mutters, "Let's see how long." She laughs before calling it quits, but Maya ignores them. She walks up to the control terminal beside the engine, scanning the layout with a quick glance. Her eyes dart over the schematics on the screen, her expression neutral. She makes no dramatic gestures, no big statements, just calmly begins to assess the situation. What no one realizes is that Maya is far from just a janitor. Years ago, she had been a rising star in the mechanical engineering world, a top graduate, a published researcher, and a lead developer on groundbreaking energy systems. But after a personal tragedy and corporate betrayal at her previous job, she chose to disappear from the spotlight. Rejecting the high-pressure world of innovation, she found peace in simplicity and chose a quiet life away from titles and expectations. Now, faced with the very kind of engine she once helped design, in theory something inside her reignites. She requests a small set of tools. Nothing complex. Just a wrench, a soldering pen, a thermal scanner, and a diagnostic reader. The request itself surprises the team. She's not reaching for anything exotic or high-tech, just the basics. The CEO, standing arms crossed at the back of the room, raises an eyebrow. "Need someone to show you where the on switch is?" he asks mockingly. Maya doesn't even look at him. "No, I know where it is," she replies softly. She opens one of the side panels on the engine and begins inspecting the internal components. What she finds confirms her earlier suspicion. The regulator loop, designed to manage thermal fluctuations, is miscalibrated. Instead of compensating for heat spikes, it's overcorrecting and creating feedback loops that shut the system down. Staff begins to notice something's different. She's not fumbling, she's not guessing, she knows exactly what to look for, and why. A young intern in the room nudges a senior engineer. "She's actually making sense," he says. The engineer narrows his eyes, watching more closely. Meanwhile, Maya quietly works her way through the diagnostics. She pauses once, mid-step, sensing everyone watching. For a moment, she remembers what it felt like to be respected in this world. Then she shakes it off and returns to her task. By now, the laughter has stopped. The smirks have faded. Something unexpected is happening. Something no one in the room, including the CEO, was prepared for. This simple woman is not who they thought she was. A hush falls over the lab as Maya begins to work more deliberately. The dismissive atmosphere from earlier is gone, replaced by quiet curiosity, and in some cases, visible discomfort. The same people who smirked at her minutes ago now watch closely, wondering if they had underestimated her. Maya crouches beside the engine and detaches a small thermal regulation unit, revealing an intricate nest of wires and sensors. Without hesitation, she begins to adjust the wiring sequence, switching out a couple of misaligned connectors, recalibrating sensor positions, and resoldering a tiny circuit node with steady, practiced hands. An engineer leans forward. "That's a custom sensor bypass. She shouldn't even know that exists," he whispers to a colleague. They exchange looks of growing unease. At the nearby terminal, Maya inputs a string of diagnostic commands into the console, but not from a manual. She's typing from memory. She's not learning the system. She already understands it. Suddenly, the system interface responds, "Diagnostic override accepted, running advanced heat map analysis." The CEO, Richard Klein, watching from a distance with his arms crossed, narrows his eyes. He doesn't say anything, but his smugness has clearly started to fade. He expected her to give up within minutes. Instead, she's unraveling the system, faster than his engineers could after weeks of trial and error. Flashbacks flicker briefly in Maya's mind, sitting in a lecture hall, earning top honors for her thesis on thermal compensation in closed-loop engines. Standing on a conference stage as the youngest panelist at an international engineering summit. Her photo on the cover of an industry magazine captioned, "Maya Bennett, the future of clean engine design." Those memories are bittersweet. That world celebrated her brilliance, until politics, jealousy, and a personal betrayal pushed her out. A former colleague had taken credit for her work. When she tried to speak up, she was blacklisted. Heartbroken and disillusioned, she walked away, from the industry, from fame, from ambition itself. But now, standing before this engine, a familiar type of model clearly built on tech she had once helped pioneer, she feels that old fire flicker back to life. Maya pulls up the engine's real-time response feed. "See this?" she says, pointing to the thermal fluctuation chart. "Your system is reacting to itself. The sensor loop is feeding back its own delay, creating an artificial spike. It's not a design flaw. It's a tuning issue." No one says a word. Several of the engineers nod slowly. They know she's right. The CEO steps closer, pretending to still be in control. You studied this kind of engine before? He asks, trying to mask the unease in his voice. Maya finally looks at him. No, she says quietly. I designed it. A stunned silence follows. The lead engineer gasps. Wait, Bennett? Maya Bennett? From Cornova Labs? She nods. Suddenly, the entire mood shifts. People who moments ago saw a janitor now realize they're standing in the presence of a legend. The atmosphere becomes reverent. Some step back. Others lean in to see more of what she'll do next. In that moment, the simple woman disappears, and the mechanical genius stands in full view, composed, focused, and fully in control. The air in the lab is electric with tension, but it's no longer about skepticism, it's anticipation. Maya Bennett, once dismissed as a mere janitor, has now revealed herself as the very mind behind the kind of technology Vortex Dynamics is struggling to master. Engineers gather around, silent and focused, as if witnessing a once-in-a-lifetime performance. The prototype engine, which had refused to work for months, now rests open and half disassembled under Maya's careful hands. Her calm, precise movements make it look effortless, but every tweak she makes is grounded in deep understanding. She rewires a feedback loop, adjusts a power node with a custom tuning tool, and recalibrates the thermal management software to account for delay offsets, something the current team hadn't even considered. At the terminal, she loads a simplified interface she's coded in real time, minimalist, clear, and effective. It begins to display heat signatures, torque feedback, and system latency in a way that's instantly understandable. Some of the engineers can't help but lean in and take mental notes. One of them even whispers, "She's rewriting our diagnostic software on the fly." CEO Richard Klein watches from behind a glass panel, more silent than he's been all day. His ego and assumptions are unraveling as quickly as the engine is coming together. He had dared her in front of everyone, expecting humiliation. Instead, she's commanding the room like a virtuoso. Maya pauses for a moment. She wipes a bead of sweat from her brow, then calmly signals to a technician. Activate the primary ignition module. Slowly. Let's see how it responds. The technician hesitates. You're sure it's safe? She nods. Trust me, it'll start this time. With a glance toward the CEO, the technician flips the switch. The lab falls into dead silence as the engine hums softly, then begins to glow with life. A low, steady rhythm builds from its core, smooth, powerful, stable. For the first time, the engine doesn't stall, shake, or shut down. Its internal diagnostics flash, stable, efficient, and finally, operational. The crowd erupts, not in cheers, but in stunned awe. Engineers exchange looks of disbelief. Some even smile in admiration. This wasn't a fluke. Maya didn't just fix the engine. She understood it. She saw what none of them could. She made it work with minimal tools, no team, and no help. Klein's jaw tightens. His pride is wounded, but he can't deny the results. The engine is running. Perfectly. Better than it ever has. And Maya did it in under an hour. She steps back, calmly looking over the now stable engine as its hum fills the room with a deep mechanical confidence. One of the interns breaks the silence. That was genius. Another engineer nods. We've been staring at this engine for 3 months and she just solved it. Maya doesn't gloat. She just gives a faint, satisfied smile. It wasn't broken. It was misunderstood. That single line resonates with everyone in the room. This was the turning point, not just for the engine, but for how everyone sees Maya. She's no longer a background figure, no longer invisible. She's the solution they didn't know they had, and from this moment on, nothing at Vortex Dynamics will ever be the same again. The lab feels different now, no longer a place of failure and frustration, but of stunned revelation. Maya Bennett, once seen as just a janitor, now stands at the center of the room, surrounded by engineers who just hours ago dismissed her entirely. The engine is running smoothly behind her, its soft rhythmic hum almost like a declaration. The impossible has been done. CEO Richard Klein walks slowly toward Maya, his usual arrogance noticeably absent. His expression is unreadable, a blend of surprise, embarrassment, and something close to respect. The very engine he had publicly declared unfixable is now humming like it was always meant to, and the woman he mocked did what none of his highly paid specialists could. Is this some kind of stunt? He finally asks, his voice quieter than usual. Maya turns to him calmly. No, it's just engineering, the right kind. Klein's eyes scan the console, the engine, then Maya herself. He still can't quite believe it. You've been here, cleaning floors, all this time. I needed the peace, she says simply. And the distance. The room is still silent, but it's no longer awkward. It's reverent. Engineers begin to step forward. One of them, an older man with decades of experience, offers his hand. Ms. Bennett, your work. I read your early research papers. I used to teach them in my graduate courses. Maya nods humbly. It's been a while since I thought anyone even remembered those. Another engineer chimes in. You just saved this entire project. Do you realize that? If the board had pulled funding. He doesn't finish the sentence, but everyone knows what he means. Millions of dollars, years of development, countless jobs, all hanging by a thread, saved in under an hour by a woman whose genius had been hidden behind a mop bucket. Klein clears his throat, regaining some of his composure. Maya, listen. I made a mistake. I misjudged you. And clearly we've been wasting your potential. I want to offer you a position immediately leading our advanced systems division. Name your terms. The room waits for her answer, but Maya doesn't jump at the offer. She looks around, taking in the faces, the stares, the awkward admiration. She isn't bitter, but she is reflective. I didn't do this to prove anything, she says. I did it because I couldn't watch brilliance go to waste, not the engines and not yours. Klein looks genuinely confused. So, you don't want the job? Maya smiles faintly. I'll think about it. But I didn't fix this to come back. I fixed it because someone needed to. The engineers look at her with a new kind of respect. The kind earned through action, not words or titles. Word spreads quickly through the company. That same day, Maya's name trends on internal forums, then leaks into public tech circles. The janitor who fixed the future. One headline reads, her old research papers surge in downloads. Students start quoting her work again. And in that single day, the woman who chose silence and simplicity becomes the symbol of unseen brilliance and the dangers of judging by appearance. In the days following the incident at Vortex Dynamics, the story of Maya Bennett spreads like wildfire, first inside the company, then across the tech industry. News outlets run segments with headlines like, From Janitor to Genius, The Woman Who Solved the Impossible Engine, and The Hidden Mind Behind the Machine. What began as an embarrassing dare by CEO Richard Klein has become a defining moment not only for the company but for the entire innovation sector. Klein, now under pressure from investors and board members to explain how such talent went unnoticed under his leadership, publicly addresses the incident. In a rare move, he acknowledges his mistake in a company-wide meeting. We misjudged Maya. We failed to recognize talent because we didn't bother to look beyond a title. That changes today. He offers Maya the role of Chief Innovation Architect, complete with full creative control over engine development, her own hand-picked team, and a generous compensation package. It's an offer that no one else at Vortex would receive without years of service. But Maya doesn't say yes immediately. Instead, she takes a few days for herself. For the first time in years, she reflects on her long journey, from celebrated engineer to quiet janitor, and now, reluctant hero. She walks through the city anonymously, seeing the world as she once did when she chose to leave it behind. She visits the local university library and watches students reading some of the very papers she once thought had been forgotten, and slowly she begins to feel the old spark again, not ambition but purpose. When she finally returns to Vortex HQ, she doesn't walk in wearing a janitor's uniform. She steps into the building as a guest, head high, eyes clear, She calls a private meeting with Klein and the top leadership team. "I'll accept your offer," she begins, "but only under one condition. No more judging people by where they come from, what they wear, or what title they hold. Talent is everywhere. You just haven't been looking." Klein agrees, somewhat humbled now, no longer the man who once sneered at her. Under Maya's leadership, Vortex Dynamics undergoes a transformation. She recruits overlooked interns, taps into underfunded research teams, and builds a culture that values ideas over image. The engine she fixed becomes the company's flagship achievement, launching them into a new era of clean energy technology. Months later, Maya is invited to speak at the same international summit where she had once been blacklisted. This time she steps on stage not with anger or revenge, but with insight and grace. Her keynote address, titled "Genius in Disguise: What We Miss When We Don't Look Closely," receives a standing ovation. The story ends not with Maya basking in fame, but with her standing quietly in a workshop, mentoring a young engineer who reminds her of herself, curious, humble, and quietly brilliant. Because for Maya, the resolution isn't about proving anyone wrong. It's about proving that true genius doesn't need a spotlight, only a chance.